Back going now. Right. And just a friendly reminder, if you've got your microphones on, just go ahead and mute them. If you have some questions, you can put them in the chat, or we'll have a Q&A session at the end of Bob's presentation there. All right. And then I'll do the introduction for Bob here today. But tonight's presentation for Bob is Designing Your Quality Career. It's leadership and performance excellence across every career path. Our speaker tonight is Robert QualityBob Mitchell. His bio, we've got here Robert QualityBob Mitchell is a seasoned leader in quality and performance excellence with over 4 decades of experience spanning industry, consulting, and nonprofit organizational excellence networks. His career reflects a deliberate blend of technical depth and servant leadership, with proven success in planning, deploying, and executing enterprise-level strategies that drive sustainable results. So, Bob, um, I think at this point, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you for your presentation tonight.
Okay, let me start the share.
Yes, sir.
Well, first of all, thank you, Orion, for
Yes, sir.
introducing me this evening, and welcome everybody. Do apologize if we do have a little bit smaller group tonight. I was out of the country and I forgot to send out the customary program reminder that I try to send out at the first of every month. And I can tell by going into our constant contact CRM system that nothing was created nor published for February. But I'm sure for those of you who are regulars and you know when and where we typically meet and how to register, I want to thank all of you for participating tonight. Yeah, so this evening we thought, after several presentations in our monthly programs that were typically more on the hard tool skill side, a lot of AI, good AI presentations, but we felt it was time to have something more along the soft skills. We traditionally we try to alternate those around every other month. And so I volunteered to present a little bit about my career path, and I thought that would probably make a pretty good topic for a presentation to share with everybody. So this is my experience and what I have to say about career pathing and career planning. I'll be giving an example, my case study. Not that everybody has to certainly follow my lead, but just give you a flavor for what are all the entrapments and details around designing your own quality career. So I like to start things out. Oh, and just a heads up, I have built a poll and a quiz into this presentation. So if you are currently watching from your computer, laptop, or tablet, if you have your smartphone available, you can participate in the poll that way. Otherwise, if you are already on your smartphone, I think you can just start a new tab within your browser of choice on your iPhone, and you can join us that way. And that poll should remain open during the entire course of my presentation. The questions are scattered throughout. So if you can please leave the poll open from beginning to end of my presentation. So first of all, I like to give a little bit of flavor as to why we're here and why is career pathing important. And so I just thought, well, let's look at what the current situation is. I'm not sure if you are aware, but there's actually a labor shortage, and it's not just here in the United States. This is actually a global phenomenon. It started at around 2023, and it's only getting worse as more and more baby boomers are retiring every day. And the two generations that are in the workforce for the most part are smaller than that one baby boomer generation. So between those two follow-up generations, there still is not enough growth to fill all of the demand. And so this is a report from the conference board. This is a board of CEOs globally, and they participate in a forum every month, and every year they have an outlook. What are the different risks that are happening? What are the trends in the marketplace? What are the even they go to the detail of country by country, region by region, as far as what would be the outlook. So the global labor shortage is here, and in fact, in the United States alone, it's estimated that we need 4.6 million additional workers per year, and that's just to maintain the current level of supply and demand. So that 4.6 million, that's about 2% of the US population. And why do we have this type of a crisis in the United States? Again, this labor shortage is worldwide. Now, each economy, each country or region can have different top two, three, or four causes. And here in the US, it's estimated that 75% of employers are not able to fill job vacancies for a variety of reasons. But the US is estimated to have a labor shortage of about 70%. Our current labor force participation is at 62.7%. What participation, unlike unemployment measures, participation is a metric that measures how many of the workforce age adults are currently in the workforce. So it's only 63% of all those who could be working are actually considered active in the workforce. There's a variety of reasons why people may choose not to participate. Everything from health and disability to, they probably just retired early. Uh, they are still of the age to work, but they set themselves up well and position themselves, and they're just not participating. Of course, then you also have those who are looking for work but can't find the jobs to match their skills. So, as I said, there could be a skills mismatch. It could be the great retirement wave. A lot of it in the United States is dependent upon location. And there are many pockets of what are called skills deserts, because where the new top job opportunities are not necessarily where the bulk of people live. So, and if those people are do not have the means or unwilling to move, that is also part of the reason why we have this labor shortage. And then again, the participation problem, how many eligible workforce age people are actually participating in the job market. So the solution isn't hoping for demographics to shift. I look at it as an opportunity to embrace these openings with ruthless intelligence. And so when I go about looking at my career and where do I want to go, I will consider such things as anticipating where the new market opportunity will be and what skills might be required. And then how fast can you adapt? Are you kind of rigid and stuck in your ways, or are you more flexible, agile, and a continuous lifelong learner where you're constantly upgrading your skills? And then you want to be able to use all that decision making to act and to demand the real market rate. If there's a shortage and you fit the need, then you should be demanding top rates. So you got to do some research about, well, what is the going rate in that area or region, and you've got to be willing to relocate. Again, depending upon how important your career path is. So we're going to start with this quiz just with a simple poll question. It's not a quiz, it's more of a poll, just to help kind of frame and for everybody to get a visualization of what is the range of career stages that we have in the audience tonight. So in order to participate in this poll, if you have a smartphone and you can use your camera to take to look at the QR code and click on the link that's presented. Or if you're on some other device and you cannot get to the QR code, you can just type in this web address, polev.com/quiet sunset 995. That's, I don't know how I got that handle. I think it was assigned to me many, many years ago. But so if you want to, if you'd like to participate in this poll/quiz, I would ask for you to do that now. And that reminds me, I have to go in and start or launch the poll. So let me do that. Going to sync. Dun, 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 dun. And then we're going to clear previous responses. And this should now start. So has everybody had an opportunity to join the poll? And I'm just going to test to make sure it's working correct. So let me back up a page. Let me take a picture or scan that. And make sure it's going to prompt me to enter my name. All right, so it is current. So that's good. It's up and it's running. So here's the first question for those of you who have logged in, joined. Again, which option best describes your current career stage? So at this point, you can select from one of the 5 options, and you have 15 seconds to do this. And then once the 15 seconds has elapsed, we can look at how the people answered. So as I suspected, we have a pretty good split between the middle, late stages of your career. Don't have anybody tonight who would be considered in the exploratory stage. That would typically be someone who's maybe a grad student or they have some type of an internship. Early career would be someone in their first or second year. They're still kind of getting their feel around the organization and making up their mind whether this is really a place they want to dedicate themselves for a few years. And then middle, I just arbitrarily said, well, if most careers last 25 to 30 years, I'll shoot 10 to 15 as the middle. And then the late would be 25 years or thereafter. And we do have some retirees as well. So thank you for that. So no one would be considered early career. You're all at least in the middle of your career. So we've got a little scorecard. So the faster you respond, and with the correct answer, you get more points. And unfortunately, Poll Everywhere requires me to pick the right answer. So I just assumed that the majority of people attending tonight might be in that mid-career range. So for those who are responding, thank you. So let's move on to the topic at hand on career pathing. One of the first things we should do is really discuss, well, how is career pathing different from employee development? You have both, and they're both important, but you own your career path. And employee development is optional. Your employer will provide some skills that are necessary, and you may need to be refreshed and keep current. But still, there are other opportunities where you, as the employee, might want to branch out and select new skills. So, although they're related, career pathing and employee development are not really interchangeable. Employee development refers to specific skill sets, training, or other certifications that an employer provides. Expanding your skill set and qualifications may be part of your career growth and development, but these do not entirely establish the career path. Career paths are how individuals choose to progress, focusing on advancement skills building, broadening experiences, job variety. So career pathing is defined as a strategic approach to planning professional development. It involves identifying connected employment opportunities that can lead to achieving specific career goals over time. As a scope, career pathing encompasses a series of roles and experiences that you may need to take during your career to consider growth opportunities, skill development, career enhancement, and just to really make your personal brand, to build your brand. So here's where we have the first quiz question. Which statement best describes career pathing from employee development? So this question is seeing how well you were paying attention. So A, career pathing focuses on training programs, or B, employee development is employer driven while career pathing is strategic, individual driven. C, career pathing is limited to vertical advancement, or D, employee development replaces the need for career pathing in mature organizations. So go ahead and select your response. All right, time is up. And 100% of the respondents got the correct answer. Congratulations. Why did it skip to that question already? All right, quiz question number 2 on this topic. Which practice is most consistently identified as a best practice for effective career pathing? Relying on annual performance reviews, waiting for leadership to assign your next career step, actively owning one's own career path while seeking organizational alignment, or D, selecting a career path based solely on compensation. So which would be considered a best practice? Hopefully these first 2 quiz questions are almost cut and dried, pretty clear. Let's see. All right. And the correct answer, and everybody got the right answer, again, is taking active ownership of your career path. So here we have the leaderboard. All right. So now let's get into the meat of this presentation, all about career pathing. There are actually, if you were to do a search, there are 4 main types of career paths that everybody talks about. But I threw in another 4 additional paths. They probably aren't as familiar or frequently used, but they're typically more profession specific. So the 4 main types, we have what's linear, or also known as vertical, just climbing the corporate ladder. We have a spiral, sometimes called a cyclical. It's where you kind of walk through different but related job opportunities. Like if you're in quality, if you want to get broadening experience within the general frame of quality, you might decide to take a job within supplier management, for example, or testing and inspection, or quality management systems. They're all quality related, but they typically offer more broadening than just the pure quality engineer, quality practitioner job grade. There's also a career path for experts. If you want to build a career path on being known as a specialist, that if it comes to quality engineering and you want to build your brand around your depth of knowledge of everything quality, you want to become a quality specialist or a quality director, or whatever your organization might attach to those higher vertical steps within the quality discipline, that would be considered the expert path, because you really want to get into the specialization. You want to specialize rather than be generalistic. And then the 4th common type of career path is what's called transitory, or some people might call it a roamer. This is somebody who just needs change, and they're frequently changing jobs. It's good on one hand to gain diverse experiences, but this is different than the spiral, is that transitory would be completely out of the quality domain, let's say. You might decide after working a few years in the quality arena, you want to try something different. Maybe you went to school for a degree in some other area and you'd want to maybe move into, say, marketing or sales or engineering. So, but a transitory is someone who does that quite frequently. You just want to experience how the entire organization works as an enterprise. So those are the first four most common career paths. You can probably give some thought if you've done any career planning at all as what type of path you currently seem to be on. Maybe a different path fits you better. The four additional types of career paths, there's something called the dual, and this is if you want to move between the technical ladder and the managerial ladder, but without having to take a cut in pay. Many organizations, if they allow you to move from one to the other, they typically, right or wrong, would say, well, as you move up the managerial track, you're going to get higher and higher salary. The salary range is larger in the managerial track than the technical. Whereas if your organization truly has a dual career path, that enables one to go flip between technical and managerial. You can flip as many times as you want, and every time you go up and you're changing the ladder, you are not taking a hit for pay. So a quality director, let's so to speak, would be at the same pay grade as a managerial director. Now, not every organization offers this type of a career path. I was blessed in that the company I worked for 34 years, 3M company, that is their career path for all employees. They really believe in the dual career, and they help employees build their career based on that flexibility. You can also have portfolio management if you want to manage multiple part-time roles, or maybe you want to work on projects simultaneously. You can have a portfolio. And then the last two, entrepreneurial, that's really for those people who really want to start their own business. And there's a career path of how to build your entrepreneurial skills. And then there's the skills-based path. So let's look a little more detail at this linear or the more traditional vertical path. The purpose is advancement with increasing areas of responsibility, increasing scope and authority. And it's best for professionals who are motivated by leadership, span of control, and having some greater and greater impact throughout the organization as they're progressing. But again, these tend to be with career path or career enhancements within the function that you started in, or of your chosen function. So if you're in quality, the typical or traditional B approach would maybe you come in as an inspector. And then the next job grade level up would be technician, followed by engineer. After engineer, maybe there might be someone more skilled in a particular area. You might be considered a specialist. And then manager, but again, it's within the quality function. It's not a manager of some other part of the company. It's the quality manager. And then ultimately, depending upon the size of your organization, maybe they have an overall head of quality or a quality director. The competency emphasis here is governance, risk, compliance, strategic planning and deployment, people leadership. So essentially, as you're moving from the inspector, technician, and engineer type of responsibilities to that of a quality supervisor, quality manager, quality director, the organization is really saying that you have the skills, or they believe you have the skills and capabilities that you will enable you to successfully move from that of being an individual contributor to being more of a leader, helping others to succeed. So it's from individual contribution to playing a larger role, helping to lead people. Then the spiral path it's lateral diagonal moves, but it's still within a function, like a quality function. But it does allow you to get a little larger systems perspective. For example, if you're in the quality function, a spiral path might mean, well, maybe if you're going to go move into operations, or from quality into the supply chain area, or quality to regulatory compliance, quality systems, or into program management, or maybe even customer experience areas, but they're all part of the quality bucket. The value here is you have end-to-end sight of what it means to about process. What's the systems view of quality? And it gives you greater cross-functional credibility. And it provides a foundation then for senior leadership. So you can see you can be an enterprise quality leader. You can move into operations. You could even potentially be chief operating officer or some type of transformation leader. The third path of the four common ones, the expert path or deep specialization, its purpose is to build mastery within the critical technical or methodological domain. These would be professionals who are driven by depth, rigor. They're going to influence through their expertise and knowledge of the quality tools. So here would be someone, for example, moving from a principal quality engineer to a specialist, or maybe to a senior fellow, or an internal or external consultant. And the areas of specialization within quality could be maybe you're going to specialize in the area of statistical process control, or big data, data analytics, or reliability engineer, maybe as a master black belt, or in regulatory risk management, metrology, and calibration. The risk, though, is your mobility could be limited if this is your career path, if your organization doesn't really have anything above and beyond, say, a senior engineer. And it's less formal authority in more hierarchical organizations. The fourth path, learn by moving, is the purpose is to enable rapid capability building through share various experiences working in different environments. And it's best for the early to mid-career professionals who think they finally found their calling and they want to accelerate as fast as possible. So this path is characterized by frequent role or industry or organizational changes, exposure to diverse systems and cultures. A person who wants to pursue this type of a path has strong agility and adaptability, and they can recognize patterns and they can build their skills that way. The concern, or I think what would be called a watch out for those on this path, is there can be a perception by others of you that you just can't commit. You don't know what you want. You're too unstable. You know, you and in order to support this career path, you'd have to, sometimes you have to give strong explanations, strong narratives of why you want to move every 2 or 3 years. Many organizations, they have time-bound requirements as you're moving through up the ladder. And if you're constantly moving, the organization is being asked to kind of waive some of those expectations or requirements. So you want to be careful. You want to make sure that if you're on the transitory path, you want to try and avoid the moniker of being a roamer, that you really don't know what you want to do yet. But it is a good experience to get to learn more about the entire enterprise. And the dual path, as I mentioned, its purpose really is to retain top talent without forcing people into management. Again, many organizations, if you want to get into higher compensation, you're forced to go into the management role. Their argument is, as an engineer or a technical person, you're an individual contributor. Whereas if you're forced to move into supervision and management, the expectation is now that you can guide and lead others. And so it's a way of forcing people into management who may not be prepared. They may not have the skills. And quite frankly, you might not want to get into management. So an organization that has a dual path career approach for their employees, they make sure that they have the structure in place, like 3M, where you can go back and forth between the technical ladder and the management ladder without jeopardizing or giving up your salary. You can move from one ladder and back again as many times as the need arises. And as you move up, you're going to be in the same salary range as people who have traditionally just are on the management ladder, for example. My career path, because I worked for a company like 3M and they did have this dual ladder, is I went from a quality engineer to a quality, advanced quality, and then a specialist. But then I became quality manager for 4 different business units within 3M. So I had the unique opportunity because 3M is so large. It's a global company, over 100,000 employees, 40 different businesses. I had the opportunity to move back and forth many times because I went from a more traditional technical approach to management, say, of a healthcare business. And then there was a calling for someone who had unique skills and capabilities in this technical area. So I was recruited to move over there. And then a few years later, I was pursued by another business unit to be their quality manager. In this case, it was in the industrial markets. And I've gone back and forth throughout my career, probably a good 5, 6 times, finishing my career as the senior manager of 3M's corporate level quality organization. We had merged quality, lean, and Six Sigma into one, and then we had this corporate entity that provided all the assistance and training down to each individual business unit, and they each had their own quality groups. And then for those groups who were in regulated industries, they split their quality group into 2 components. There was the traditional quality improvement, but then there was also the regulatory compliance piece. And all of those dotted line reported up to me throughout the entire company. But that was a unique case, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But that is the possibility of a dual ladder. And then to a lesser degree, we have more of these specific paths. The portfolio is if you want the opportunity to wear multiple hats within one career. Maybe you like what you're doing, but you maybe also want to be a consultant, whether that's internal or external, or you'd want to participate at some level in education. So you can be, say, a quality leader and an adjunct faculty member, or a internal quality consultant and an auditor, or an improvement coach, an author or a speaker, those types of things. So you're balancing the scale. You're still working in one traditional area, but you have the opportunity to work outside of your organization to help build your brand and to gain valuable experience. All right, so we've discussed those 4 to 6 of the 8 career path types. Let's have another quiz question. So hopefully you're still logged in, or if you have not yet signed in, please go ahead and do so. So here's the next question. A quality professional values deep technical mastery, prefers influence through expertise rather than authority, and aims to become a recognized subject matter expert. Which career path would best align with that person's goals? Is it linear, spiral, expert, or transitory? All right. Revealing the answer. Everybody got it correct. Expert path. All right. Scott's still in the lead. Jonathan close behind. Question 4. What is the primary organizational purpose of offering a dual career path? So, organizational. Why would an organization choose to offer a dual career path? So, here's the question. Here are the options: to accelerate promotions, to rotate employees, to retain top technical talent without forcing them into people management, or to prepare employees for entrepreneurial careers. All right. And the correct answer is C. But I can see why, someone might choose rotating employees, uh, but that's not necessarily the role of a dual career that could fit the spiral type of path. You want to see different functions within an enterprise. All right, leaderboard so far. All right, now we're going to take another time away from the quiz. And having discussed the different types of career path, I thought I would offer a case study, case in point, of my career path that I have been undertaking for over 35 years now. And so, how did I build my personal brand? I have the moniker and it's trademark, Quality Bob. In fact, if you were to do a Google search of Quality Bob, I would probably be the first 5, 6 hits on Google. I trademarked it. Interesting story about how I came to the decision to trademark Quality Bob. Quite honestly, there are a number of Quality Bobs around the world, not surprisingly. In fact, there's another Quality Bob in ASQ down in Fort Worth, Texas. We've met each other at numerous conferences. We always had a good laugh over did we get the right ribbons and the right name tags. But the way I got the trademark is in a company like 3M, 100,000 employees, over 200 manufacturing plants around the world. Our CEO knew who I was because at this point in my career, I'd already been working with the senior leadership of business units and even of the executive team. And he would see me in the hallway of whatever building he might be visiting. And he would see me, recognize me, and he would just call out, "Hey, Quality Bob, how you doing? I want to meet with you in a minute." And someone came up to me and said, "You got to trademark that." I said, I never really thought about it, but let me go check. And so I did some check, and it was a name that was out there that had not previously been trademarked. So I filed all the paperwork, submitted the fee to get a trademark, and that all happened maybe 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago now at that point. So that's how I got a Quality Bob as the trademark. And my personal brand is built on performance excellence. There are a lot of Quality Bobs who are in the quality domain, but how I differentiate myself is not only through technical expertise and leadership, but focused on strategic business opportunities, operational excellence, organizational performance excellence, and across multinational organizations. So I was carefully crafting my career and my brand for many, many years. Uh, Again, I actually started my career in product development. I had degrees in chemical engineering and organic chemistry, biochemistry. I was undecided if I wanted to pursue a technical path or go into med school. Well, as it happens, I never got accepted into med school. And my college mentor, professor at the time, he said, you made the place you made your mistake is you're the only pre-med student who passed PChem, physical chemistry. He said, right or wrong, he said, that's probably why you didn't get accepted into med school because their perception of you is you are very technical. You don't have a lot of skills of what they're looking for someone who's more holistic, would make a good physician or a doctor. Whether that's true or not, it's a good story to tell. But I was the only pre-med in the entire university who passed PChem. And I was the only person out of my class who did not get accepted into med school. Yeah, that's fine. I knew the odds going in, and that's why I always had an option. So I built my career, my professional career on core skills, obviously in the quality domain, but also focusing on communication, change management, project management. When I had the opportunity to lead, my style was always around servant leadership, not so much telling and directing as supporting and asking people for their input and what would they do, and we would talk about it. And then, of course, my proven success record speaks to itself. So I retired from 3M in 2015. Here it is, 2026, and I am still active and participating in the job market. Upon retiring from 3M, I started my own consultancy, QualityBob Consulting, and it's still up and running, and I do consult to some degree. However, I'm one of these people who has to be doing something. I have to remain active. Though I retired from 3M, I had gone about as far as I wanted in 3M company, had enjoyed my time immensely throughout my 34 years. Uh, but in my later years, I also became very engaged with the Baldrige criteria. So Baldrige is a little different from traditional quality in that traditional quality, you're focused mainly on product quality, service quality, maybe quality within your department. Whereas Baldrige talks about performance excellence throughout the entire organization, from the leadership, senior leadership, and CEO, all the way down to the lowest level of the organization, and is focused on excellence and becoming a role model company. And I've navigated that career to the point where today I am the chief operations officer for Rocky Mountain Performance Excellence. We are one of 24 state/regional nonprofit organizations whose charter is to help other organizations pursue performance excellence. Rocky Mountain is a region. There are some programs who are state specific. Rocky Mountain is one of those that operates within the region. We're called the Intermountain region. 8 states: Arizona, Colorado, Montana, Wyoming, Nevada, Utah, Nebraska, Montana. I named 8. And so I'm leading that organization. I had just previously been the executive director for Southwest Alliance for Excellence, a peer organization. They had responsibility for 3 states. I was the executive director for that, and then we merged late last year. And that's how Rocky Mountain then became more of a region. We actually had a third organization or partner merge as well. So we had Rocky Mountain, Southwest Alliance, and Quality New Mexico, all 3 merged. And we're still operating as Rocky Mountain. We're considering rebranding, but at this point, that's not at the top of the priority list. It's just we rebrand ourselves now as Rocky Mountain Regional Performance. And oh, by the way, I'm still active in ASQ. I've been a member of ASQ since 1987. I've been a member leader since 1989. Talk more about that. So again, my case, I had the unique opportunity to work for a multinational company. So I started my career in 81 in product development. In product development, I became enamored with the methodology known as experimental design. There were still a lot of my peers who were more seasoned let's say, career-wise. And they were still doing things more one factor at a time. And I just saw the opportunity of moving into the designed experiment uh, realm where we can look at multiple factors in a few number of experimental runs. So that was my foray or introduction into quality methods. From there, it just took off. One of the also the nice thing about a company like 3M, it has virtually unlimited resources. We also have partnerships. One of those types of partnerships was with Iowa State University, which was just down the road, maybe 100 miles, in Iowa from the Twin Cities of Minnesota. And they offered a statistical engineering degree, and 3M would pay for it. So I took full advantage of that. And so I became a statistical expert. And I did a lot of training within 3M, many, many different plants around the world. I would go in and train operators, I would train engineers. We would hold forums and councils. And then when 3M started doing Six Sigma and then Lean, I also own those responsibilities, and I had black belts and master black belts and lean senseis all working for me as well. So I really had a unique opportunity, and I took full advantage of it. And I also took full advantage of their dual ladder. I moved from product engineer to quality specialist, quality senior specialist, and then into supervisor manager for 4 different business units. And then ultimately, I retired as the director of Lean Six Sigma quality operations at the corporate level. So my impact, because I worked for a company like 3M and we operated in 62 countries with over 240 manufacturing plants, my organization, we led process and product and service and system improvements, plus my own personal engineering experience on moving web coding, high speed continuous motion converting and assembly, statistical consulting. Before 3M dabbled or brought in Lean and Six Sigma, we had our own framework for improvement called PPU, stood for Process and Product Understanding. It used all of the same tools that you find in Six Sigma. The difference being, not until James McNerney came in to be our CEO from GE. And of course, for those that remember, GE was an early adopter of Six Sigma, driven by Jack Welch, the CEO. So when McNerney came into 3M as our CEO, he brought GE Six Sigma experience with him. And he and I sat down and talked about PPU versus Six Sigma. The biggest difference is under PPU, and 3M has our culture within 3M is around innovation. We everything we do is about driving innovation. We have this famous 15% rule where any employee can spend 15% of his or her time working on a pet project. And if it's something where you need resources like space in the lab, 3M would pay to support that. They really believe in innovation, and that's why there are so many employee-driven innovation products and projects coming out of 3M. But when 3M adopted Six Sigma, the biggest difference was at Six Sigma, the CEO led Six Sigma. It became our leadership development tool because there really wasn't any difference in any of the statistical tools, but it was the leadership development. Under Jim McNerney, if you wanted to be a manager in 3M or higher, you had to have served at least as a green belt. And the higher you went up that managerial ladder, the higher the expectation was you were a black belt or maybe even a master black belt. You could not get into management without having led Six Sigma projects. That was the biggest add-on from what we were doing previously, known as PPU. And while I was active in 3M at that level, I was also 3M's organizational member, primary contact to ASQ. So 3M and ASQ had a very tight relationship, and I was considered their primary contact, and we would put together programs uh, through ASQ with 3M uh, expertise. Now, I mentioned I was not only had my active 3M career, but I was also a member leader of ASQ. I served on many ASQ headquarter level committees, volunteering on a standards committee, volunteering on community relations, volunteering on some award committees. I was the member of the CEO's roundtable. And in addition to that, I spent some time, and for a while, I was the chair of the statistics division, and then the Minnesota section. And when I retired and came down to Phoenix, ASQ Phoenix section recruited me, say, "Hey, we'd love to have QualityBob as part of our organization." And so I came in, I think it was first as a strategic planning person, and then I was requested to serve as chair. And I'm still active today as a director slash mentor, helping all the new senior leader volunteers come up into the organization. So to help support all of that, of course, I had certifications. I started out with a CQE. Then I decided to get quality auditor because in 1980s, 3M made the decision on a global basis that we were going to become ISO registered. This was a global effort, and I could see the writing on the wall, and that's what drove me to also consider getting certified as an auditor. Now, ISO auditors are a little more specific kind of a quality auditor, but that provided a good background. And then as I was moving into quality and had wanted to move into the managerial side, I then studied and passed the certified manager of quality and organizational effectiveness. Supporting all of that work, again, as I was continuing on my career, I saw that there was something missing, that traditional quality focuses on product and service performance improvement or operational excellence. But there's this whole piece about improving the entire organization so everybody works harmoniously together, all aligned on the strategic path. And we were trying to build best practices in the organization. So in my role then at corporate quality, I undertook training to become a Baldrige examiner. And at that time in Minnesota, I was a volunteer and examiner for the Minnesota Performance Excellence Network. And when I retired and came down here, similarly, Southwest Alliance recruited a QualityBob, said, "Hey, we'd love to have you come on board." And so I did examining for them as well for several years. And then when they needed a new executive director, I threw my hat in the ring, and uh, that's what position I held for the last year and a half of Sway before we merged. So bringing this all together, here's my case study. I have skills not only in traditional hard tools, but also in soft skills and quite a breadth of knowledge in different methodologies. So if this is a career path that sounds interesting to you, not only do you want to focus on the quality tools and domains and methods, but also auditing. Again, 3M being a worldwide manufacturer in 40 different businesses, I not only became the lead auditor for 9000 series for traditional manufacturing, but there are a lot of industry specific standards, whether it was aerospace or automotive or FDA 13485, I believe it is, or good manufacturing practices, code of federal regulations, environmental standards. There are many other standards that you can bone up on as well. And then helping management to make decisions. This was probably the biggest piece that helped accelerate my career up the managerial side of the dual ladder. I recognize that there are tools and methodologies out there that we could do a better job implementing in my organization. And so I focused on strategic quality. And what do I mean by that? think strategically, act locally. At its bare bones, what is quality all about? I like to say that quality is about managing the organizational white spaces, and that requires systems thinking. So it's much broader than a product improvement or a service improvement. Now we're talking about systems. And what is a system? A system is just a series of interconnected processes. And each of these processes has inputs and outputs, suppliers and customers. And now if you start thinking internally, your many of your processes and systems have internal suppliers and internal customers. Where are the handoffs from one department to the next department? What are the expectations of the internal customer of his or her internal supplier? Where are the opportunities for improvement, whether it's reducing defects or eliminating waste, driving innovation? So systematically, what I'm talking about is if you consider an organization, maybe a typical one that includes manufacturing. Of course, you had administration, you have R&D, marketing, sales, finance, manufacturing, purchasing, distribution, legal, HR, you know, all others. Which systems cross a majority of those silos? The two that I immediately address, and a third one soon after, strategic planning. An effective, successful strategic plan requires input and participation from all of the functions. Workforce planning. Every function has a need for a workforce. What are the expectations for capability and capacity? How do you re-engage employees? How do you get that workforce engagement? New product development, that involves a number of departments. You need the voice of the customer. You have R&D developing the product. You have marketing who's trying to define the customer requirements and needs. Sales is going to have to take that final product and service and try to sell it to a customer. Of course, you got finance. How do you set the price? What's the factory cost, unit cost? What's the percent margin that we need? Manufacturing, purchasing, distribution, all of those are involved in developing and commercializing a product. By being engaged in those types of strategic systems processes helps to broaden your strength as a quality professional and gives you higher visibility within the organization. In a sense, you are building indispensability within your organization. You are so vital because you have this breadth of knowledge and you've got this rigor and depth of skills that you can bring them to bear and help to improve systems and systems thinking. Another thing, an example of how I applied that in 3M, under my leadership, we developed what are called playbooks. We developed a corporate-wide playbook for quality, a corporate-wide playbook for due diligence, supply chain management. We have a number of playbooks. A playbook is essentially looking at what are all the different steps in the process. Say in manufacturing, you're going to manufacture a product. Well, who are the stakeholders? What are the key elements of that? You're going to design or make or buy, and then you're going to sell. What are the different modules you need to have expertise in? And the real beauty of a playbook is to identify for anyone within the organization, these are the methods we have in the company. These are the worksheets, the tabs, So we have identified corporate systems to help in the development of products and launching products. So we can define key metrics and define organizational levels and goal setting. And we even have self-assessment tools to help, say, the quality engineer assess their skills and capabilities whether it's in one of these key elements or these primary drivers. So we're lining up the systems that 3M has and putting them in a playbook so that if you're a manufacturing plant in India or Singapore or wherever you might be, Germany or France, and you're going to launch, you want to get started building a manufacturing plant, we have a playbook of how to do that. If we want to merge or buy another product, another company, we have a playbook on how to do due diligence to avoid risk and taking on any risk that might be out there from the company you're looking to absorb. So, strategic enterprise-wide philosophy and expertise has really helped me to kickstart my career path. Things like commercialization. There's a process of how 3M develops and introduces products. Strategic planning, Ocean Connery. Many organizations, even if they have the most beautiful plan, they are poor at executing that plan. The deployment piece is missing. I brought Ocean Connery in, and so strategic planning now incorporates strategic deployment using the X matrix and team charters and A3s and the bowler scorecards and management by fact. All of that is now part of our planning and deployment process. And then we adopted an organization-wide lean philosophy where it supports lean and Six Sigma and all the other continuous improvement models. And I guess I'd like to share that, when I came to 3M, I didn't have a graduate degree because at this point, I was still not sure I wanted to go into uh, manufacturing or go to work. I was still debating whether to go into grad school. And I had a free fellowship offered to me. I was in Minnesota, and strange, but of all coincidences, Arizona State University had offered me a fellowship in biochemistry. And so I was debating. I took about a year off, and then 3M pursued me because of my background, some work history that I had, and I accepted. I said, "Well, I'll consider it for a year or two and see if I like this, if there's opportunities for me." And 34 years later, I was still there. So it helps to receive recognition through the years. You see, I was even from ASQ. I received the Distinguished Service Lifetime Achievement Award from ASQ in 2023. And I received 3M's Career Quality Achievement Award back in 2005. And another way to improve your career path is to get involved beyond just your employer and even beyond ASQ. Look for opportunities to volunteer on other teams and committees. One of the things I did down here when I first came under the QualityBob Consulting is I was hired by the Center for Entrepreneurial Innovation. They are a small for-profit firm funded by the state of Arizona, and we actually help founders. These are people who want to launch their own product. They're like an entrepreneur. And what CEI does is they provide all the services that a typical organization would need in order to sell the product. So as the entrepreneur founder, I know my product, but I don't necessarily know how to go to market. I need help. So CEI will provides HR, legal, uh, finance, all the typical support mechanisms that a manufacturer would need to support this founder to help get their business up and running. They came to me because they recognized we have all of these supports, but we don't have anything to help the founder or the entrepreneurial understand the basic requirements to go to market. And a lot of the entrepreneurials and founders here in the Phoenix area just happen to work in the pharmaceuticals and biologics industry. very regulated. And they had no one within CEI who had that expertise. So they came to me and asked if I would develop a curriculum. So that was a nice little project I did for 2 years building that. So, in summary, what I like to say is some of these quotes are perfectly aligned with building your career. Uh, Whether it's knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. He who knows others is wise. He who knows himself is enlightened. Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Even Dolly Parton had a phrase that kind of fits. Find out who you are and do it on purpose. Intentional career pathing. Now, where are we at on time? Am I running over already, or I don't have a clock in front of me? And I don't have my watch on me.
You're doing fine, Bob.
7 o'clock. Okay, so I should be wrapping up. All right. So a tool that I found helpful, especially as I mentor others, is a tool called the Core Values Index. Now, there are a lot of these personality type tools, whether it's Myers-Briggs or whatever. But the unique feature of this thing called core values is it's built specifically to help you discover your ideal job or career based on your unique strengths and characteristics that are revealed in this core values profile. And in core values, the output, you're in one of four, well, you're in multiple quadrants, but the four quadrants are you're either what's called a builder or a merchant, an innovator, or a banker. And they separate them truly based on values. What are your values? If you're someone who values action and getting results, that would put you in the builder category. If you value relationships, customer management, people, then that puts you more in the merchant. Uh, then you can compare that to the innovator, someone who seeks wisdom and problem solving, versus a banker, someone who values knowledge and they call it justice. But how this would work in, say, a manufacturing or a quality manufacturing type skill set. A builder would be someone who likes to build project plans and see them through. Focus on action. Just tell me what to do and I'll get it done. A merchant is someone who might question the project plan and say, well, how is this how is this going to impact the intended customer? Who are my stakeholders? Well, these people would, before just going and busy work, they would step back and question, well, who are the stakeholders that I need to consider? And how do I build relationships, excuse me, to move that project along? An innovator is someone who just likes to solve problems. They might be the big picture type of person, but they have a problem getting down into the brass tacks. They just like to do all problem solving. A banker values knowledge and justice. These are probably the people who uh, you have to get a project approved through. And a banker typically is going to look for what is your data? Bring me your data. I want to see what's the return on the investment? What's the projected price point? What's the factory cost? What percent of the market share are we going after? So they're valuing that type of knowledge. And when you take this assessment, it'll tell you, well, based on your answers, you fit more in one, maybe two of these. And then what's even better than that, your this ratio of how much you spend can help identify which career or jobs you would probably be most happy in or would be ideal for you. So the power of what I found this core values index, yeah, it has an assessment, yeah, it gives you a label, but it then takes that input and it tells you these are the 15 to 20 career paths you might want to look at because they fit what's important to you. And it's a powerful tool. I've used this for 5, 6 years now with many different mentees. And You get a 16-page report. So there is a lot of information in this report. My specific example, now I've taken this 5 or 6 times. Like the previous slide said, it's pretty repeatable, something like 78% repeatability, where others like Myers-Briggs are down in a 40% repeatability. And it says, for me personally, strategic thinking is my forte. Excuse me. And I strive to cause people and things to work together. Excuse me. Now, before I wrap up, and I've got a lot of addendums, I'm not going to cover those, but if you download my presentation, there are a lot of additional slides with more information. I wanted to wrap and bring this to a close under the value of having a mentor. You can put the best career path together, but I found that having a mentor greatly facilitates your advancement through your career path. And there's someone that you trust and can give you valuable perspectives and insights. So the value of a mentor is it helps really shorten your learning curve. It helps you to see the possibilities you might not be aware of. And you want someone who can be a mentor that can provide honest, personalized feedback. And they can help you expand your professional network. After careful consideration of potential mentors, you want to find people who have that breadth. And it helps you navigate transitions as you're moving from one job to another. They can help you in those areas. So career planning becomes much more meaningful when it's anchored in purpose, not just going after the next promotion or compensation. How would you choose a mentor? Well, it's actually a different strategy depending upon which career path model you're pursuing. And I'm not going to read these all. You can read these for yourself. But here's some suggestions of what to look for in a mentor. This clarity then helps you to target the right people instead of just anyone who has years of experience. And then interview questions of potential mentors. You want to have quality mentors, not quality as in discipline, but quality as a qualitative type of skill set. Quality mentors love thoughtful questions. So as you are looking for and maybe interviewing potential mentors, give these questions a try. What types of experience most accelerated their growth? How did you decide between technical and managerial? What skills are going to matter most for the next decade? What do high-performing organizations do differently? What mistakes can be avoided? What habits helped you build credibility and your brand? So in summary, career pathing provides individuals with clarity about their next professional steps. It also offers valuable feedback on your work style. Primary goal of career pathing is to provide a structured framework for individuals to plan, navigate, and advance your career. This comes from an article on what is career pathing. So how should you start your career pathing journey? First of all, you are responsible for your own career development. Don't wait or expect your employer to do it. They'll provide the employment development skills you need to perform in your role currently. But you want to map out a long-term career path. You want to build your brand. What do you stand for? What are your values? You want to become indispensable. You want to select a primary path and maybe have another one or two as backup. Because you want to reassess that path every 3 to 5 years. Why? Your personal interests might change. The market needs change. There could be certain innovations in the marketplace that you need to bone up on to enhance your skill set. Example, Quality 4.0. We've heard a lot about AI. Blockchain and all these other technologies. You want to be able to anticipate trends. and prepare for those black swan events, those things that are seemingly they'll never happen, like COVID. No one, despite the most rigorous risk management, no one had a plan for COVID. So you need to become agile and resilient. You want to pursue your dreams and follow your passion. Create your own future. So we're back to the last couple questions of the quiz, and then I will turn it back over to Orion. So for those of you who are still logged into the quiz, which best practice supports long-term career resilience and relevance? Is it A, committing to a single career path, B, following organizational promotions, C, selecting a primary path but maintaining secondary, or changing jobs frequently to maximize compensation growth? And of course, C is the most correct answer. And we have a new leader up on the leaderboard. Next question. Why do best practice career pathing models emphasize offering multiple career paths? Okay. To simplify succession planning, to accommodate diverse motivations, strengths, definitions of success, to reduce training costs, or to encourage frequent job changes? Which do you think is the best practice? To accommodate diverse motivation strengths. Everybody got that correct? Okay. And then the last question. I think this is the last question. Why is periodic reassessment of your career path considered a best practice? Because labor markets and organization needs change. Career paths must follow industry norms. Reassessment prevents lateral moves, or stability requires avoiding career pivots. And of course, A is the correct answer, and everybody selected that. So our overall leader for the evening is Jasmine. Congratulations. Subu is in second, and Alan third. For everybody, you're all winners. I think hopefully you've come away with some new insights on how to build a career path. I'll leave you with a final quote from Zig Ziglar. For those of you and maybe baby boomers, you probably remember that name. Zig Ziglar, a famous TV personality, salesman. He had a lot of famous quotes, and this one I like, especially fitting career path, is don't become a wandering generality. Be a meaningful specific. I just love that quote. It fits strategic planning. It fits career planning. So be a meaningful specific. And with that, I'll wrap up. Again, there are a lot of additional slides, how you can opportunities for certifications, how you can volunteer within ASQ. There you have divisions, you have sections. There's a volunteer hub if you for organizations within ASQ that are looking for volunteers in a specific title. You can look for mentors. You can enroll as a mentee and hopefully get a mentor assigned to you. You can also volunteer on an awards committee within ASQ. A little bit about, well, how do I discover these opportunities? Well, if you go to the ASQ.org, not myasq.org, but ASQ.org, and you click on About ASQ, this little orange box. Now, a little secret. You can download the organizational manual, which would have the names associated with all these different divisions, sections, medals, so you have a resource to approach. To get that organizational manual, though, you must be a paid member of ASQ. And then you have to know the secret sauce. When you get to this page, asq.org/about-asq, you have to add the additional bar, and the word for it, and then the word leadership. It's not an option. But if you know about it, you type it in up in your search box, then this page pops up and you have the ability to download the organizational manual. It gives you every member of the board, gives you every member of the committees. It tells you how to, if you're interested in participating on an awards team or a standards team, who the point of contact is, and on and on. So, a wealth of information is available there as well, but it's not known about. And you can't access it unless you are an ASQ member. So if you're not a member of ASQ and you're listening to this presentation, you can go ahead and try typing it, but it won't let you in because you have to first log in with your ASQ credentials. And of course, volunteer with your local Baldridge organization. Learn a whole new world of quality around excellence, not compliance, excellence. And with that, I will wrap it up. Any questions?
I'll throw a question out there. So during your career pathing, I guess in the beginning, did you find yourself? I know you said you kind of followed the dual path, but did you find yourself ever considering yourself maybe a roamer before you went to the dual path? I mean, or maybe following a different path before you went to the dual path, I guess.
Well, thinking back that long ago, I mean, I was more kind of a roamer because when I first took a role within ASQ or within 3M, I really wasn't sure I even wanted to get involved in in a career yet. I was still debating whether I wanted to go back to school, advance my career that way, advance my learning. Uh, but once I got into 3M and I could just see the wealth of opportunities and all the coaching that they provided and all the resources they had. Uh, so once I moved into product development, then I got into quality and statistics. And then as I actually maybe at about early, well, not early, maybe mid-career after about 8, 10 years, I would say there's probably a point in time when I said, you know what? Quality is such a narrow discipline, and depending upon the organization, may not be all that top of mind or dare I say even valued. So maybe I want to use this just as a launching point and pursue other functions. Maybe I want to go into supply chain, or maybe I want to go into marketing. And that's certainly possible. Though if that's your career path is to be that type of a transitory, then you certainly have to do a little more research to understand, well, what are the competencies required to move into that? What skills do I already have to demonstrate before someone's going to hire me into that role? It's like traditionally in management, your employer is not going to ask you as an individual contributor to accept a role in supervision or management unless you have already demonstrated some proficiency in that area. So that's where I would say, if in quality, if you have the opportunity to lead projects, perfect opportunity to build your people skills or to be maybe a customer liaison. Uh, Opportunities to showcase and to build your soft skills as well.
So,
Well, I apologize for running over. Hopefully, it was still of value to you, and I look forward to seeing you participate in our future program events. Thank you.
all right. If anyone have any other questions for Bob out there?
Yeah, I have a question. This is Barbara Bannock. When you were at the beginning of the presentation, Bob, and they were talking about like people in the workforce, is
Yeah.
there like an age range that's defined as This is the workforce.
There is, I mean, if you were to go and just do a search of um, participation, workforce participation, and you find the government site associated with that, it would define participation rate and the age. I think the age, I think is 17 or 18 to 65.
Okay, something like that, like a standard. Oh, okay, got it, got it.
Yeah. And when I retired unofficially, my wife says I'm still practicing at retiring, but when I retired from 3M 2015, here we are 11 years later, and I'm still actively engaged, though I'm doing the things I want to do, and it's only part-time. So, but I would still consider, because I am part-time paid, I think the government recognizes that as participating. The question I have, well, what if you're volunteering? Maybe you're retired and you're volunteering your time. You're not receiving compensation. So how does the government, how would they even group that? If they could identify those people, then how would they classify them? Are they participating or not participating? Thank you for your comment, Sandeep. Servant leadership. Yeah, I try to do that everywhere.
See any
All right.
questions in
Okay.
the
Thank
chat
you.
there? All right. Yeah. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, I guess we can continue on here. So typically we have a piece here for networking or any additional sharing. And often we get um, I can't see, sorry. We get a lot of feedback on our networking piece. So we figured in lieu of networking, we'd kind of reach out, and I put a poll out there to see how we can improve our networking within this virtual environment. So if you could take a few minutes there, conduct a poll or perform answer the questions in the poll there. I'll leave it open for the rest of the meeting. And then you can scroll through, I believe, top to bottom. I think there's 9 questions in there. You should be able to see the results at the end of the meeting. I'll hit in the poll, and you should be able to see the results of it. And if you have any inputs on it, you can put it in the chat as well, and we'd appreciate that. So as you're going through that, I'll continue to press on with the section business. And if there's anybody that would like to come on off their mic and do any specific networking, or if they need to would like to introduce themselves, or if you want to put your LinkedIn in the chat, or if there's any specific networking that anybody would like to introduce themselves, feel free to do that now. I can give you a few minutes of time and some airtime here to introduce yourself to the group. Is there anybody that would like to do that? Right. So upcoming events here, we've got the Lean and Six Sigma conference here in Phoenix coming up in about 10 days, February 22nd through the 24th in Glendale, Arizona. Uh, and then the World Conference on Quality and Improvement in Orlando, Florida, May 17th through the 20th. You can go through asq.org and do the registration there. We do have a request for a volunteer from Hillary Werner. She messaged us last night. She did have a volunteer drop out last night. So we've got a request for a volunteer for the Lean and Six Sigma conference. So she sent us this last night. So she needs a 5 hours of volunteer time, and you'll receive the discounted registration at $199. With that, includes all of the networking events, meals, and conference attendance outside of the volunteer hours. So at the discounted rate of $199, you can attend all 3 days. Minus, this is the schedule that you would be required to volunteer for. Sunday, you would 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock at the information desk. Monday, the 23rd, you would do 10:15 to 11 a.m. and then 11:15 to noon that day. And again, this schedule is fixed, and there's some additional info on the next slide for this Lean and Six Sigma volunteer. So as far as the information desk attendant, this would require you sitting at the desk and just providing attendees with information about the conference. And then the session room monitor, you would make announcements prior to and following the main presentation. You'd count the number of attendees in session and report numbers back to the event staff. And then you would work with the on-site audio-visual staff. And in the event there was any issues, and then you'd need to be at the room 10 minutes prior to the session. So that would equal up to your 5 hours of total time. And then there would be just a brief training session provided at the conference check-in prior to for both of those positions. So I'll leave this up here. If you're interested in that discounted rate and attending the conference, or if you've already signed up for the conference, maybe you can contact Hillary, and this is her email here. So please reach out to Hillary as soon as possible. She does need to fill that role. So I'll leave this here. So again, if you're interested, please contact Hillary so she can get that role filled. Or if you don't want to reach out to her directly, you can shoot me an email. I'll put my email in the chat, and it'll also be up here in a few slides. And you can reach out to me, and I'll put you in contact with Hillary if that works for you as well. Okay. As far as our Phoenix section leadership team, we have a few open roles still. We have a contracts chair, a newsletter editor, the chair-elect position for 2027, and scholarships and outreach chair. And this is our current leadership team as well. So give me a second to look at that. And all of this can be found on our leadership page that I'll show you in a few moments. And this is just our call for volunteers. It's the same thing as just spoke about. But here's my email address as I discussed. If you want to volunteer for the Lean and Six Sigma conference, my email address is whiteorion@gmail.com. So shoot me that email if you want to, or again, reach out to Hillary direct. Or if you want to volunteer for any of the Phoenix section leadership committee team, we have that newsletter editor, the contracts chair or arrangements chairs, the scholarship chair, or the chair-elect positions moving forward. Sam Chang is our nominating chair, so you can reach out to him and he can get you set up, or you can reach out to me direct. Or if there's any other volunteer opportunities that you'd like to participate in that you saw on the previous slide, where you just want to volunteer as or support any of the education placements or membership. But we really need these empty roles filled if you want to support Sam. I mean, we can use the help where you fit in, but if there's something you really want to do and support another member leader, yeah, we're all about bringing you in and having you support. So. And this is our Phoenix section page. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it, and this is where you would sign up for the events for most of you, and where we have our upcoming events. This is the job board. This is the most recent. I pulled this a couple days ago. If you haven't watched some of our previous recordings and you need to update your RUs, or you're coming up on recertification and you need to get some additional RUs, you can go in here to the library, watch some previous recordings, and then you can send those to Jason, or you can send it to myself, and I can get you in contact with Jason. Just let us know which ones you watched. It's based on the honor system, so watch the previous recordings. Let us know which recordings you watched. Send them to us in an email, and then we'll work on getting you those certificates. And then again, we have all of our newsletters, handouts, and then all the presentations and mini papers in here as well. And then all of the, if you're not a member, here's all the member benefits of being a professional member. And what I did miss, if you are not a professional member, if you're a student member, you can't be a volunteer of the section leadership team. You have to be at least a member, a professional member or above, to be a leadership member of the leadership team. But here's all the benefits of being a professional member. Definitely gives you networking opportunities. I've met a lot of great members since joining ASQ, who include a lot of people that are on the call, including Bob. He's been a great mentor thus far since joining ASQ. So it gives you the exposure to people across different organizations and specialties. I'm aviation by trade, but I've met different, medical professionals and different manufacturing industries as well. So it's definitely been professional development across the board. And then the senior membership benefits. I'll give you a second to read across here for the benefits of a senior membership. And if you have any questions, please feel free to just come off mute and let me know. And then fellow membership. Just VIP seating at the World Conference, take on advanced leadership roles in the ASQ board service. So again, as we kind of wrap up here, at the end of this, within the next few days, you'll get a survey link and your RU certificate from our Voice of Customer Chair, Jason Seibert. So again, you'll see the RU certificate and likely a link to the survey. We every month we go through those survey results and we try to implement your feedback. We take your inputs as far as what you want to see in future programs. We try to reach out to different professionals to get those included in these programs. So whatever inputs you provide in those surveys, we definitely take to heart. So please fill out those surveys, and we'll do our best to accommodate your wishes. Coming up here in March, we have the concepts of autonomous vehicle safety. He'll be presenting John Linland. Mr. Linland has that 40 years of experience in international automotive safety, critical design, and manufacturing. He has a master's degree in systems engineering from Michigan and also holds a master's degree in industrial engineering from Wayne State and a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering and systems and controls from Michigan Technological University. So if you want to see more about, there's much more about Mr. Linland in my ASQ. This is just a quick snip from him. If you want to follow us on our socials, we've got Facebook. I'll leave this up here for a few seconds while you're looking at that. And then I'm going to jump over and try, I'm going to jump over and try to end the survey so we can see the results of that survey. Let's see. Looks like we had about 37 folks participate. You guys should be able now to see the results of the survey or the poll, if you will. So you should be able to scroll down and see those results. Um, and then I'll jump into the chat here. I wasn't able to see everything in the chat while I was going through, but let's see if I missed anything there. Right. So with this networking, I think with the leadership team, we'll review it at our next program meeting, and we'll do our best to take your inputs. If anybody has, I see that there were some folks that might have some potential for um, having a factory tour. I can let me put my email here. If you could, whenever Jason sends you that RU cert or myself here, you can send me the email, and maybe we can reach out and connect potentially for where we can do that factory tour, and maybe we can have that discussion. If not, no worries there. We'll figure it out. Um, we have some other options. All right. Does anybody have anything else that they'd like to discuss? Final thoughts, comments, questions? No? All right. Well, I won't keep you any longer. Thank you for participating tonight. It's a great meeting. Bob, I appreciate your support here tonight. It was a great presentation. Uh, I'll see you around. I appreciate your time, guys. Have a
Yeah.
great night.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening,
Thanks.
everybody.
Thanks, everyone.